Alaska's massive. You can spend an entire lifetime exploring and still not see everything.
It's the ideal spot for species to go unnoticed for hundreds of years. To be literally under the radar. Sometimes even frozen in the ice.
One story from 2015 has some people convinced that ancient dangers could still be here. Scientists at the Alaska Earthquake Center picked up readings from a remote seismic monitoring station that they couldn't explain. The readings were from the Kulteith River mountain station, and the data clearly showed shaking on the ground, as if something massive had been moving in the area. Andrew Goff is a journalist and researcher who's been looking into this story.
The scientists were totally mystified. They were wondering what the heck could have caused this. And they realized this can't be an earthquake. We know what that looks like. It has to be something else. But then they discover that the seismic monitoring device was smashed by whatever creature this was on the surface. And that not only perplexed them, it horrified them. There's one creature that could have literally caused the ground to shake. And that's one that's gonna seem a little far-fetched at first. And that's the prehistoric mammoth.
According to science, mammoths died out thousands of years ago. But one man who knows more than most about mammoths in Alaska is Bruce Schindler.
I live in Skagway, Alaska, and I chase mammoths.
Bruce lives in the southeast of the Triangle, but he travels all over Alaska in search of one of the most valuable commodities going: mammoth tusks.
This thing is not lightweight. Let's get it in the studio. I buy mammoth tusks from gold miners. I take those mammoth tusks and I do what I can to bring them back to life.
Bruce uses his expert craftsmanship to carve the mammoth tusks into ethical ivory to combat the ban on elephant ivory.
I can take a chunk of ivory like that, cut a piece off, and carve, say, something like this female figure. So to take this, I took a female tusk that had split in half, and the top part had some rot, so I took the rot off, and then I figured with the width that was left, I could carve this female figure. I left the bottom untouched, so it still tells the story of 35,000 years of survival. You can kind of see it's not a perfect piece of ivory, but it doesn't have to be perfect to bring the story out. You know, you got this color is from the minerals where the ground where the tusk was buried. And I don't know if you can see the details of the crosshatch pattern in this, but that crosshatch pattern shows that it's definitely mammoth tusk, that it's definitely a piece of material that came out of the ground. It's been buried for 35,000 years.
He's found that there are tusks in the ground all over Alaska because it was the perfect place for mammoths.
The Alaskan landscape was a fantastic habitat because it wasn't glaciated. It's kind of hard to live on a glacier. And most of the northern hemisphere was really heavily glaciated, except for up north. And the reason why is it didn't get much snow. But it did get a fair amount of moisture, which therefore led to a lot of grasslands and food for the mammoth.
Dr. Lance Hightower, an expert in cryptozoology, has uncovered evidence that mammoths might have survived even into modern times.
So I'm reading an article here dated in the early 1900s, and this is about a U.S. scientist who had just returned from the interior of Alaska. He came across a trail of frozen prints that couldn't have been made by anything except a giant beast. He says they were too large for modern-day elephants. They seemed fresh, with the weight and depth of the print something that he's never seen before.
This scientist, Dr. John Frizzell, believed that he had found a fresh track of what could have been a mammoth.
What we have is the same story out of 3 different newspapers.
These were well-respected West Coast newspapers, and Dr. Frizzell was accompanied by 3 other men, all of whom verified his account.
Being a scientist, I mean, they're very particular about what they see. They're good observers, typically. Could it have been a woolly mammoth? Possibly.
Kittuviduak Lichard, also known as Q, is a shaman and native Alaskan folklorist. He believes modern science may not have it right when it comes to mammoths.
Native Americans in Alaska definitely had interactions with mammoths. We have a lot of stories of us hunting them. We still talk about it. Have they been extinct for over 10,000 years, or is it a lot more recently than that?
In Native Alaskan communities, storytelling is a crucial part of passing down knowledge.
Why would we have such detailed stories about hunting them if it was 10,000, 5,000 years ago? That would be, like, they're too detailed and descriptive. I believe that we've been hunting them as recently as 200 years ago.
I'm going through some of these articles dating back from 1889 to early 1900s. Some early explorers coming into the territories of Alaska and communicating with some of the Alaskan natives. These explorers are baffled when some of the Alaskan natives are drawing in the sand creatures that we would consider would be the woolly mammoth.
But it appears the newcomers didn't just have to rely on stories. They were given what they considered physical proof.
One Alaskan native said that they have ivory to prove it. And he said, basically, we had our hunting group kill this monster. There was more than one. And the researcher says, let me take a look. And he looks on the ivory, and there's fresh stains of blood. So these people are describing what appears to be a woolly mammoth in our modern times. I mean, these articles are only from 100 years ago, and they're from people that are science-based. You can't help but wonder, are woolly mammoths still living?
Whether or not mammoths are out there, the vast wilderness of Alaska still holds many surprises. Scientists are still making remarkable discoveries. Animals frozen in the ice, living DNA. Could the Alaska Triangle be the real Jurassic Park?